Hello everybody, it's Wendy, and today we are going to be making a beautiful bracelet, I almost said necklace, that I call a waterfall bracelet. So this bracelet's so beautiful, it just hangs on your wrist like this, and I think it looks like a waterfall sometimes, like the way everything kind of flows down. But I always get so many compliments when I wear this, and so I wanted to show you how to make it, and I wanted to use some of the carnelian and freshwater pearls from the bargain bead box this month. So this is the bracelet we're going to make today. But first, our encouraging word for today is a generous man will prosper. He who refreshes others will himself be refreshed. And that is Proverbs 11:25. So what you're going to need if you want to make this bracelet. Now it looks really complex. It's really not. It is a lot of little dangles that are hooked together and little components that we hook together, but it's really not difficult. I'm going to go ahead and take it off because I'm going to lay this one out and use it as a pattern. And I just had Chris put this on me so I could show you all the bracelet on the wrist, because you do kind of have to see how it lays. Oh my, I don't know if I can get it off. There we go. Okay, so here it is. And we're using some products from the bargain bead box. Not everything is from the bargain bead box, just to clarify that, because I always have somebody that goes, you said we were using all products from the bargain bead box. Well, we're using some. So you're going to need some small jump rings. These are little 4mm jump rings. These are available on my website if you're interested, in a bunch of different colors, and they're tiny and they work really good for this because you don't want the big jump rings to show, okay? We're going to be using some of these beautiful glass beads from the bargain bead box. So as you can see in this bracelet, up at the top, there are the bigger beads. So these are all 8mm up here towards the top. And then as we go down, we go into 6s, and there are some of the tiny ones up in here too, but we get really small when we get down on some of these fringy parts. So for our 8mm, we're going to be using these pretty glass beads and these freshwater pearl drops, okay? And then for our 6mm, we're going to be using these really pretty carnelian beads. And I had 4 of these Preciosa little rondelles, and I'm just going to throw them in because they match perfectly. Then for and I've also got these. Now these are kind of like a saucer bead, and I don't even know where I got these, but they're very sparkly, and I just wanted some sparkle in here. So they're like they're weird. They're drilled in the middle, but they're flat on one side and domed on the other. So I don't know. You could use anything though. You could use bicones, you could use rondelles. I just pulled these out because I thought they were interesting. And then for our tiny beads, we have 2 different colors of rondelles. I have this white, really pretty white rondelle, and this really pretty kind of a peachy color. Those are for our smaller beads. And then we have a lot of head pins, a lot of eye pins. I don't know how many you're going to need. You're going to need a bunch. Then we have some daisy spacers. These are small little daisy spacers out of the bargain bead box this month. I have a lobster clasp, and I have a length of kind of a chunky chain, okay? So if you look on this one, it's got this chunky chain, and you're going to need a chain that's a little bit, has some bigger links, because we're going to be hanging several things from the links. Okay, so this chunky chain. Now you can get chunky chain on Amazon, you can get it at Hobby Lobby. I don't know where I got this, but we're going to use some of that. And then I've got some small little bead caps here. These are just, well, if I could get one, I would show you. They do not want to be picked up, but these are just small little, I don't know if they're 6mm bead cap or 4mm. They look like they're probably 4mm little bead caps. Okay, and that, I think, is everything you're going to need, and of course your jewelry tools. Okay, so we're just going to start by making these dangles on the top, the 8mm dangle. So I'm going to count them. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, looks like. So 9 of the 8mm dangles. And I think, let me look at these. I think I made these all the same. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes. And I think I made them all the same. I think I did all of these with just a spacer, the 6mm bead, and a spacer. So I'm going to do that again. So 9, we're going to use 9 of these beads. So let's look at the Freshwater Pearls. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm probably going to do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I may actually do another one. I may do 10. So I may do 5 of each of the bigger 8mm beads. So these already have their little dangles on them. We don't have to make dangles for those, but these we do. And these are alone on their own. We're not hooking a bunch of stuff together like we're going to be doing on the rest. These are alone on their own thing with a couple of spacers. So we're going to do them the same way. So for those, you're going to need a head pin. Okay? And the way that I do this, and do I want to use my one-step looper? I can. If you have a one-step looper, this does make it quicker, but I'll show you both ways to do it, just in case you don't have a one-step looper. So if I do this with my regular pliers and do not use a one-step looper, I'm going to put my little spacer on my glass bead and my spacer. This is how you make a loop, okay? So you've got your beads on here. You're just going to come right above your bead and bend this 90 degrees with your chain nose pliers. Then you're going to take your cutter, come down. I usually do, I don't like my loops to be huge, so I usually do just, I'll show you how long. It's hard until you kind of just do them yourself and get your own preference, but that's about how long that I make mine. And then I take my round nose pliers. Where may they be? They're up here. Take my round nose pliers and I just roll this loop back. And that is how you make a loop if you do not have a one-step looper. I don't really like to use the one-step looper a lot because I just feel like it's more work, honestly, because it doesn't make your loops closed. You have to worry with them yourself, but it does make this quicker, so it makes forming the loop quicker. So here, if you have a one-step looper, that's what you're going to do. You're going to put everything on here. You're going to stick this in here and out through this back there's a little hole in the back. I get it up here as far as I can because the closer you get to your bead, the better off that your loop is going to be. And then you just do this, and I bend that back a little, and there's your loop. That one closed up pretty good. Usually they don't. And a lot of times they leave a lot of room on here for your beads to wobble around, and I don't like that, but it does make it quicker if you're doing a boatload of, of dangles. So I'm just going to use it. I'm going to do the next few here. I don't know, it's kind of unwieldy, but there's number 3. 2 more. So number 4. And number 5. And that's all we're going to do of the bigger beads on here. They're mostly around the top. And so that's it for those. So I'm going to set these aside right here for a minute. Our big dangles. Now, if we look on our first link here, and I'm just going to copy this bracelet exactly because I like the way that it lays, and I just like the way that it turned out And so I'm going to copy it exactly. So I have my one big fat 8mm on here. And now I'm going to create these dangles for the next link, okay? So let's lay them out here and look at them. We're not looking at the rest of it. We're just looking at this part. We've done that one. And this is what I meant by there's going to be a lot of dangles. It does take a lot, but it turns out so pretty. So for this first one, I'm going to need an eye pin and a head pin to do it. So I've got my eye pin and my head pin. And on my eye pin, I'm going to put one of each of these little tiny beads. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. So I've got the little 2mm and 3mm beads, and I'm just putting them both on there, and then I'm just going to make the loop. Okay, just like that. And then next on this one, I have 2 bead caps and a 6mm bead on a head pin. So let me cut this. So we've got some 6mm beads out here. And I do have these as well, these sparklies. There's only 4 of them, so. So for my next link here, I have a bead cap, a 6mm bead, and a bead cap. That doesn't want to go down on there because that head pin was bent just a little. There we go. Making the loop. Now, one thing about this bracelet is you don't want to hook your links directly to each other because it makes it hang a lot prettier if you hook them together with jump rings. So I'm going to put out some jump rings here, and these jump rings are tiny. But I like them because they don't show up a whole lot in your work, but they just make this dangle better. So I'm hooking this one to this one. There we go. Okay, so for our first link here, we've now done our first and second link. Now the next one, I'm going to do again an eye pin, and we have a bead cap, a 6mm bead, and a bead cap for our first little link there. Okay, our next link is a 6mm bead and a spacer on a head pin. So spacer, 6mm bead, and we're going to go ahead and trim it, make our loop. Okay, so that's our next section. So we're going to hook these two together, and you do want to make sure with this one-step looper, as you can see, this one's not closed completely. You do want to make sure when you use it that you go back and make sure all of your links are closed up really well, because you don't want things falling off, and they will with this looper. So I'm going to hook these two together using my teeny tiny jump ring here. And this one was on the bottom, then this one, and we're going to close that up. There's our next one. That's this one. Okay, for the next one, we're doing a bunch of links here. So an eye pin, eye pin, eye pin, head pin. Eye pin, oops, that one's really messed up. eye pin, and head pin. And we're doing the little two and 3 millimeter beads on this one. Let me see if I can find a thinner head pin. Okay, so these actually, I think on this bracelet, one is a 4 millimeter and one is a 3, or a 3 and a 2 even. I think it's a 4 and a 3. But these colors that I wanted to use, I just had, I think these are 2 millimeters. Or maybe they are 3. I don't know. But I didn't have a bigger variety of size, so, but it's still going to look cute, I think. So there's our bottom one. And these, it doesn't really matter. You can just rotate them. Like I've got the white on the top here. I'll go ahead and put the peach and the white. You can rotate them if you want, make them different, but the point of this is to have this big long link hanging down. This really pretty big long link. Okay, so there's the next one, 3 and 4. So I'll put the white one on this time. I tried to write up a pattern for this, but it was like nearly impossible to get it done. It's so many little links put together that it's really just too hard to write a pattern for it. So I'm just going to look at the one I've already done and copy it. That's so much easier. Okay, come on now. There we go. So that's my 4 links. So I've got one at the top here. And again, we're hooking them all together with jump rings. Keep that in mind. We're not hooking them to each other. And the reason for that is it just helps it to have a lot more fluidity and to dangle better. Okay, so I'm going to grab my little jump rings here. And I'm not putting one on the top one of each of these because that one is going to be hooked onto a 6 millimeter jump ring. But I'm just going to hook all the rest of these together with a jump ring. And it really doesn't matter which one's at the top, except for the head pin one has to go at the bottom. And as you can see, you're just making, it's just a pretty little beaded link, basically. Or beaded chain. It's a chain. But it hangs down your hand and it just looks so pretty. So there's our next one. Okay, that's this one. Now still on this link, on this first link of the chain, of the big long chain, we have 3 more. So we've got a 6 millimeter and a spacer. So we've got eye pin, head pin. I try just to pull out my pins first. Eye pin, head pin. So we have a 6 millimeter and a spacer, first of all, on an eye pin. And you can really do this however you want. You do not have to do this specific pattern. I just like the way that this one turned out, so that's why I'm repeating it. Okay, so there's one. Then our next one is a small, and you can use either color that you want, and a 6 millimeter. And then the last one, I'm going to use the other color, small little bead. And so we have a bead cap, a 6mm, and our other little tiny bead. Okay, just like that. And as we get to the next section, I'm going to change up the format of this. I'm not going to do each one with you. I'm going to show you what you need to do, and then we'll make them off camera just so it goes a little quicker. But I'm closing these all up. I'm taking my tiny little bead caps, and on this one, I do want to keep them in the same order that I have on here. So this is my first one, and then this one. Okay, and then my one with the eye pin, my bottom one. Okay, so just like that. And that's our next one. Now, one thing I am going to do, I did need to pull out some 6mm jump rings. I was forgetting something. So you're going to need a few 6mm jump rings. Let me get those out. I'll show you why. So for our 6mm jump rings is what we're going to hook them onto our chain with. Okay, so here's my chain. Now in this chain, I went over just one link. This one I'm going to go over 2 links because those links are a little bit bigger than these. Okay, so we were right here. So what I'm doing, I'm just going to copy what I did here. So on this one, I have hooked my big 8mm bead on to the chain with a small jump ring. So with one of these little ones, actually I'm going to get a little bit bigger one for that because those are super tiny, and I might use a 4mm one or a 5mm one at least. So I'm going to hook the big one directly onto the chain. So let's see, I'm going to go right here for it. And these links aren't as big as the links on the other bracelet, so I may end up having to spread some things out. We'll see. Okay, then this next two, these two right here, I have hooked on to a 6mm jump ring. So I hook them together on there, and then hook them to the same link. Now, one thing that you want to make sure of is that you're hooking these all on the same part of the link. Okay, so you're going to want to pick this up and look at it often. These are all hooked on the bottom portion of this link, and I want to keep it that way. Okay, this guy, this big long guy, is hooked directly to my chain with a smaller jump ring. So I'm going to do the same thing, just like this. Close it up. Okay, and then we made this one. That's this, and it's actually hooked with another one. So we need to go ahead and make our next one. So we're going to pull out an eye pin and a head pin, and we're going to do spacer, 6mm spacer. Okay. Just like that. And then just a 6mm alone on a head pin. And like I said, I'm going to change up the format of how we do this in a minute, just so it goes quicker. Please don't think that the whole video is going to be this this way. But I wanted to show you in detail how to do the first few, just because there's, you know, it's important that it kind of lays right and that you use the jump rings in between each one, that kind of thing. So I'm hooking these two together with my jump ring, just like that. Gonna make sure this one is closed up, and it is. And then these two links right here go together on a 6mm jump ring. So this one and this one. And they're gonna go hooked right on this link. Okay, so that, I believe, nope, we actually have another one on here. Okay, so for your next one, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna do jump ring, head pin, spacer, 6mm spacer, bead cap, 6mm bead cap, and then 6mm and tiny bead. Okay, so here's your next component link. Go ahead, do that one, hook it to a 6mm jump ring, and hook it to the same link we've been hooking all the rest of them on, and then we will come back and move on to our next section. Okay, so I'm back, and here is our first link of the bracelet. And as you can see, when we put these on, when we do this on every link and put these on, it's going to be really beautiful. So now what we're going to do for the rest of the bracelet, we're going to be repeating the same things that we just did, except for one thing, okay? So we're going to do the same section. We're going to skip this one and go to this one. Now on this middle one, all we're going to do is 1 8mm. So I'm going to use my pearl this time, and I am going to take the pearl, and with a 4 or 5mm jump ring, I am going to hook it right on here. You know what? That's not going to work because the pearl's got, it's double-sided. So let's use one of our regular ones. So we'll use this 8mm, okay? We are going to hook it right onto that link, and that's all we're going to do on the next link, okay? Come on, get on there. Okay. Then for the next link, we'll go ahead and we're supposed to have one of these 8mm on every link that we do, but I don't really, so I think the next link we're going to start with the pearl, okay? So we're going to do a pearl, then grab yourself a head pin, and on the bottom of the pearl, we'll do one of these smaller. We'll do this, a spacer, and one of these. Just like that. We're going to hang that from the bottom of the pearl. And this is going to get easier, I promise. I'm going to show you here in just a second. We're going to repeat a pattern. So we're establishing the pattern right now. And then we're going to repeat it through this whole bracelet. But we do have to get the pattern established because it's a little bit of a long project. A little bit of a lot of links, and you want it to look right. So another thing, I said this a minute ago, I want to repeat it. You have to make sure that you hang your, that you're hanging everything from the bottom of the link that you're on. So let me close this up, and I will show you again what I mean. So we're going to hang this little dangle from the pearl, just like this. Okay, Then we're going to take the smaller 4mm jump ring, or the 5mm jump ring, not the big one, and we're going to hang the pearl from the beginning of our next link. So we've got all this on this one link. We've just got this 8mm on the second link. Then we're skipping these ones. We're just using the bigger, and we're going to go over here and hang this one here, but you have to make sure that you're hanging it from the bottom of the link. So when you pick it up like this, everything hangs from the same. You don't want one hanging from up here. It's going to be weird. So make sure you're doing that. Okay, so now that we have got this established, so this is the same thing we're going to do for the first link. We'll always do this for the next link. Then we're going to start our third link with the pearl instead of this one. But everything else on this link, we're going to do the same as we did on this first link, okay? So we're basically just redoing what we did here, except for one change. And the one change is on this long chain piece where we did 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do 6, okay? So do everything else the same. So let me say it again, just because I know it's confusing. We skipped 2 links, and this is our first link with a bunch of stuff on it. We started it with this 8mm glass bead, and then we did all these dangles, okay? Then we skipped this link, this little cross link, and we went to the next one, and we just did the 8mm glass bead. Then we skip our little cross link, go to the next one, and we start it with this pearl, and then that takes the place of this. So on this link, this pearl takes the place of this glass bead. So for this link, all the rest of these links, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So these other 5 links, we're going to do exactly the same. This link that's like the little chain, we're going to do exactly the same, but we're going to add 2 more to it. Okay? So over here, we will have the pearl taking place of this. Then we're going to do these 2 the exact same. This one, add 2 more to the bottom. Then these 3 the exact same, and hang them all on here just like we did these, and then come on back and we'll move to the next step, okay? I know it sounds confusing, but it is going to be a repeating pattern. It's just a matter of making all the links the same way, okay? So if you need to rewind the video and do this part again, that's what you need to do, only you're replacing this one with the pearl, and this one you're adding 2. Everything else is the same, and they're going to be hung on this link, okay? The same as we hung them on this link. So go ahead and do that part and come on back. Okay, so I am now done with my next link. So on it, I have the Freshwater Pearl with its dangle in place of this glass bead. Then I have my next, my next 2 links, which were just exactly like these 2 links. I made them the same, hooked on with the 6mm jump ring. Then I have my little beaded chain, except for I added 2 to make it a little bit longer. Then I have my next 2 links, just like these 2, hooked on with the 6mm jump ring. Then I have my last link hooked on with the 6mm jump ring, my last dangle link, which is actually crisscrossed over and is right here, okay? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to this next link. We're skipping the cross link and going to the next link and hanging one of our 6mm or our 8mm beads with a jump ring. Okay, so we're hanging this guy on here just like this. Okay, and then we're skipping the cross link, and the next link we're going to do this exact first set again. Okay, so just like it is, not changing anything, just exactly like it is. Then we're going to hang another, so that'll be on this link, just exactly like this bunch. Then we'll skip this cross link. On the next link, we will hang the pearl, this section right here, just exactly like it is. And that's what we're going to do until we alternate for the length of the bracelet. Okay, so I had to show you these first parts because this one's changed up a little from this one. But now we're just repeating the pattern. So we did the pearl group and the pearl and long group. Then we're doing another of these. Then we're going to do another of the first group. Then we'll do another of these, okay? And then we'll do another of the pearl group. Then we'll do another of these and another of the long group, another of these and another of the pearl group. And we're doing that till you get your length of your bracelet, okay? So for me, you know, it's about 7 inches. So, you know, all the way down here, we're going to keep doing this. So I've put in my next little 8mm. So now it's time to do my first group again, this group. Okay, so go ahead, put in your next little 8mm after the last group you did, and then go on to your next, skip your cross link and go on to your next link and do this group right here, this exact same one over again, and hang it on and come on back. Okay, so here's the bracelet. Everything is finished, but one thing I wanted to do was add in a few more of these pearls, just because I just didn't feel like there was enough of them, and I realized I forgot to add in these. So I'm going to do, what is it, 2, 4, 5 dangles with these pearls and these dangling from the bottom, and just fill them in on here, just where I think that they would look good, just because I want a few more. So I'm going to do that and then come on back and we'll put the clasp on. Okay, so my camera quit recording. I'm not sure where I was, but I just hooked my lobster on. That's all I did. And left a little bit of extra just if I want to be able to adjust it. And here it is. It is so, so pretty. These turn out just gorgeous. And I get so many compliments when I wear these bracelets. So, yeah, absolutely beautiful waterfall bracelet with products from the Bargain Bead Box and a few extras of my own. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it, subscribe to my channel, because I'll be doing more Bargain Bead Box things. And if you're not subscribed, you're not going to know when I upload the videos. You have to ring the little bell too, otherwise you won't know. But it's free to subscribe, so please hit that subscribe button. I sure do appreciate it. And I will have links for the Bargain Bead Box in the description box below this video. And if you want to subscribe to the Bargain Bead Box, you can have a $2 off coupon for your first month's subscription, or you can use the $2 off coupon to shop in their store. But if you use it in their store, you can only use it for one thing, so keep that in mind. But anyway, I love this. Let me know what you guys think of it, and have a great rest of the day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!